This is All of It on WNYC. I'm David First, in for Allison Stewart. She is celebrating her son's high school graduation, so send Allison and Isaac good vibes. She will be back in the host chair on Monday. And just a reminder, the All of It Summer Reading Challenge is underway. We are challenging readers to read books in 6 different categories by Labor Day weekend. If you finish, you get a prize, and you've got until July 4th to sign up. You can just head to wnyc.org/summer reading challenge to find out how and learn about all of the different categories. Again, that's wnyc.org/summer reading challenge. And now, let's get the hour started. This is All of It, and the 2026 Men's World Cup is underway. You might have heard about it. And did you know that before soccer was even recognized as a popular sport in this country, the United States pulled off one of the biggest World Cup upsets in history? The U.S. beat England 1-0 in the 1950 World Cup in Brazil, and the winning goal was scored by a Haitian player who decided to represent America at the tournament. That player's story and his untimely death is the inspiration for a new novel by author Dimitri Elias-Leger. It is called Death of the Soccer God. Death of the Soccer God. And the book takes us from high society Port-au-Prince to 1940s New York and ultimately the World Cup in Brazil. It is out now, and author Dimitri Elias-Leger joins us in the studio. Welcome to WNYC.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope I'm coming at least close to doing justice to your name.
Did a great job.
Okay. Well, thank you. You're very kind. Now, tell us about the inspiration here. The book is inspired by the story of the player that I just referenced. His name was Joe Gaetjens. Tell us about him and how you first heard of his story.
I was in Haiti by coincidence. I'd left Haiti when I was 14, but I'd circled back to Haiti 24 years later after the earthquake to do disaster relief as part of the UN mission in Haiti. And 6 months in, June, basically a week before the World Cup started, Sports Illustrated published a story about the soccer player, Joe Gaetjens. Alexander Wolf was the reporter, and he wrote this amazing piece about this player. And I was like, wow, he left Haiti as a teenager, came to New York, became a soccer star, went to Brazil, conquered the world, and then circled back to Haiti. And I'm like, wait, I left Haiti as a teenager. I came to New York. I'm not working for the UN, and I'm back in Haiti. Let's try not to die. And if the mission didn't kill me, I'd go back and imagine what it was like, his journey was like. And it took me about 15 years. And I came up with this novel where I imagine a kid doing that journey. And from the privileges to becoming an immigrant, to starting from scratch, and then studying, and then rediscovering your love for the game. And I got to explore what it's like to be an immigrant in New York, and also what it's like to stay connected back home, no matter how big you get abroad.
Not talking about the book for a moment, but the player, Joe Gaetjens, how did his story end?
Well, he got disappeared by Papa Doc Duvalier, the late 50s. And he got picked up by the Tonton Macoutes, taken to Fort Dimanche, the gulag, and never seen again, dead or alive.
How much research did you conduct before writing this book?
None whatsoever.
Because this is not a true. This is not
a true story.
Yeah.
It has very little to do with Joe, except for the little things like moving, like the trip, the big game, and the returning back. I created a new person and imagined their journey, their thoughts, and their sense of humor, their faith, and more importantly, their loves. Because that's the thing, a newspaper story can't tell you about somebody, what they loved, what they believed in. And I got to imagine that in my novel. And I got to also share some of my passions from the 50s. And also, I did go to Brazil for 3 weeks when they hosted the World Cup in 2014. And I got to see the vibes of a World Cup in Brazil. And I got, particularly in the city, Belo Horizonte, where the great game was played in 1950.
Well, Joe Gaetjens scored that famous goal for the U.S. in the 1950 World Cup to beat England. This event plays a role in your book. For casual fans who are not aware of that result, that game, or really anything to do with the history of English and American soccer, can you put that moment into context?
Yes, 1950, World War II had basically just ended. There'd been three World Cups before. This is going to be the first World Cup after World War II. Most countries were depleted of young men who could play soccer, except for a handful, including the U.S.
Huh.
So the U.S. made the tournament as a result, and the World Cup has been won by eight countries in the almost 100 years it's been played. Only 8 countries win it. And in 1950, like today, the same countries were favorite: Germany, England, and the European countries, really, and also Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. Because they had won it before. So here, the U.S. was the average team going to the tournament. No one was expecting much of it. England was the mighty inventor of the game. Nothing was expected of the U.S. Just showing up was the prize. But they shocked the world by winning the game. And the game was so monumental. The victory of the U.S. against England was so monumental in 1950 that they never beat a team as good as England since. And England's not even that good. It's barely top 10 in the great soccer countries. They won the tournament once. Other countries have won it multiple times. And yet, we can't beat a top 10 team. And we're the richest country on earth. And we're brilliant at every other sport on earth. So in 1950, like today, the U.S. beating a top 10 team, is a miracle. And they did it back then. And the Haitian guy brought glory to the U.S.
I want to talk about the book, Death of the Soccer God. And it starts in a way with its ending, right? The protagonist is at a wall facing a firing squad. Why did you want to start the book this way? I mean, it grabbed me right away. It is a powerful start.
Yes, I'm Catholic, and I worry about death a lot. And I knew I was going to write about a celebrity, a man who achieved a great feat in sports in Brazil. So I knew there's going to be glamour, there's going to be celebrity, there's going to be fun. What's the best way to set it up? What's the best way to get the reader's attention? Start with the end, or a potential end, firing squad, and that's how it came to me.
Yeah.
And Garcia Marquez, his novel, started out with a general facing a firing squad and looking back. And yeah, that came to mind as well.
Let's talk about the book's protagonist, Gilbert Chevalier. You wrote that he is a, quote, very Haitian man. What does that mean? Talk about this character.
Well, he has a great sense of humor, dark sense of humor. He's a great romantic. And I'm thinking, if you're a football fan, a soccer fan, you must be romantic because you're comfortable with always losing or draws. Because incremental wins get you over in soccer. So he was a romantic man, a passionate man, and a charming man. He seemed to have the world at his fingertips. However, he's Haitian. So that comes with some amount of vulnerability, fragility, and surprises.
Dimitri, I sense you wincing a little when you say the word soccer as opposed to football. Which should we use?
You could use football.
Okay, for the purposes of today's discussion, we'll stick with football from now on. Okay, so what does football mean to this character, to a young Gilbert in this book?
Boy, he's a prodigy. So when you're gifted at something, it's so easy for you. You want to do it all the time. And in general, I encourage people to do that. If you're good at something, if you get good grades easily at a subject, that should be your major. And try to do that for a living, whatever it is. So he happened to be gifted at soccer, and it happened to be the national sport. It has to be the global sport. But he happened to be gifted at many other things. He was good looking, came from a great family. But soccer came easy for him. It came so easy for him that allowed him to be eccentric and take it for granted. And he played, and he was a temperamental player, but he was a striker. And strikers are particular players because they're the ones who need to be serviced by the midfield to finally get a chance to score. Their job is only to score. But they do a lot of time waiting. That means when the time comes for him to score, which is very few times in a game, they have to deliver. So they have great pressure, and he dealt with the pressure with a lighthearted manner and with a certain arrogance that actually worked for him.
This is a great book to read as the World Cup is really getting underway, Death of the Soccer God. And even if you don't really fully get it, if you don't really understand what the passions are and why are people so excited about this thing that's messing up my commute right now here in the New York area, I want to read this one line from early in the book. You write that, quote, World Cup football touches everyone in the world, whether they want it to or not, whether their nation played in it or did not, whether they even liked football or not, were good at it or never even tried to kick a damn football. Indifference was hard to hang on to. Why is that?
Because it's unnatural to watch somebody do gifted things, beautiful things with a ball at his feet. We use hand-eye coordination for everything we do. That's why baseball and basketball are so popular. But football is unnatural. Our feet are just meant for walking and running and tripping. So a soccer player is bizarre.
Right. Why do this crazy thing? Why would
Yes.
would we decide that this matters?
Yes, and for some reason it's fascinating to see somebody juggle and control and pass and kick a ball accurately. It's a miracle that's always fascinated us, just like singing and any other gift, physical gift. And it fascinates everyone also because it's accessible. It's one of the most accessible sports there is. All you need is a ball, all you need is a round thing, and you could kick around. Having a kickabout is the cheapest, easiest way to have a good time. So that's why soccer is the most popular sport in the world, because anyone in the world, no matter what they're doing for a living, could go around and kick a ball around and juggle a ball or try.
Right. You need some space.
Yes.
And you need a ball.
Yes.
How does that consuming love of football inform your writing and the world that you're talking about in this book?
Well, in my novels and in real life, I find people who are passionate about things fascinating. People who are passionate about tennis, people passionate about opera, people who are passionate about architecture. I find passions to be the things that define us. I don't think anyone really lives without passion. Even doing nothing can be a passion if that's your thing. Procrastinating can be a passion, but most people have a passion.
I can tell you it certainly is a passion.
And I find passions fascinating. So this novel is about people with passions, making money, getting ahead in life, social status, mastering languages, mastering a sport, competing on a global level. People who are passionate and mad about it, whether it's in music, whether it's politics, whether it's sports. This novel reveals a lot of passions, the dark side of passion, the upside of passion, and how people who are passionate about certain things could also have romantic lives, could also have vulnerabilities, could also be kinky. They're also human. So you could be passionate and really anal about it and obsessed about achieving and mastering some things in life, but you're also human and you're allowed to be vulnerable, sweet, kinky.
Does his love for football rise above everything else for a character like Gilbert?
No, actually. No. He played football, and football came easy for him. But pleasing his dad was more important to him. Reuniting the love of his life in Haiti was more important to him. But football felt like a gift he had to honor, a calling he had to pursue, and do justice by it. And it took him to the global stage. But it wasn't above his love for his parents and his family, and the love of his life. But the balancing act was impossible.
There's a lot of tensions between what those lives should be for this person. We're speaking with the author, Dimitri Alias-Leger. The new book is Death of the Soccer God, and you mentioned his parents, his relationship with his father. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Two of the important relationships in Gilbert's childhood are with his father and his brother, Jackie, and these are characters that don't always see eye to eye.
Yes, it was really, really fun to explore the father-son relationship and the sibling relationship. It's macho, it's playful, it's demanding, it's reliable. Family is amazing, and I have amazing siblings, and I had an amazing dad. And it was great to shed light on those relationships and how they define us. They can't escape them. No matter where you go in the world, you're still thinking, would my dad be proud of this? What would my mom say? And my brother, what does he think? What will he think? I know he's going to give me a hard time. You're always thinking about these things, no matter where you are in the world. And it was great to explore that in this novel.
Dimitri, can you read a short passage from the book for us? The one that begins one Wednesday night?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 79.
Tell us about where we are, what's happening at this point.
So our hero has moved from Haiti, and he's in New York City. He's living the life of a college freshman who barely speaks English. And he lives in Harlem, and he goes to Columbia. And one day, he goes home after church, after midweek mass at St. John's the Divine, and he gets the worst surprise you could have in New York City.
Okay.
One Wednesday night after church, I bounded up the stairs home, buoyed by my growing faith's injections of practical applications of faith. I was almost eager for the night of cheap pizza and soda and homework awaiting me. But one particular night, when I reached my floor, I was stopped in my tracks by a bolt of white-hot fear. I saw the scariest thing you could see in New York City, your apartment door open. After suppressing a scream for help, I leaned against the wall so I couldn't be seen from the inside. I tiptoed towards the door, straining to hear what was going on inside. Not much. So I pushed the door, slowly, carefully, so it didn't creak. The door squeals. Who is this? I got a gun. The voice comes from the other bedroom. I'm standing in the living room. It's looking tidy with 2 suitcases neatly arranged near the sofa. This isn't a burglary. Who are you? I scream at the bedroom door at the top of my lungs, trying to sound scary. What are you doing in my apartment? Cursing in English didn't come naturally to me. I don't speak enough to practice. I can tell my French accent makes me sound too effeminate to scare anyone. A little skinny, dark-skinned dude with big eyes and broad shoulders comes out of the guest room in a tight T-shirt and baggy pants. Who are you? He mimics my voice and accent and smiles. The tension in the room drops. But I'm still on my guard. Wait, you're black? You're French and black? Ain't that something? I wasn't expecting that. Hi, I'm Miles. He sticks out his right hand for me to shake. I'm looking at this little dude with his little hand, and I'm trying to calm down, to stop shaking with fear and adrenaline. It's my roommate. Miles Davis, right? I'm Gilbert Chevalier. Nice to meet you, man. You can stop shaking now. Damn, the school didn't tell you I was coming? You were supposed to be here months ago, Miles. Yes, but I was on tour in Europe. It was beautiful, man. The school understood. I'm here now. Gotta get this degree to make my pops happy. Is everyone at Columbia as square as you? Where are you from anyway? Haiti, I say, with pride, finally shaking his hand. Haiti? Pas mal, pas mal. Tu parles français? I never meet Americans who speak French. This Miles Davis was sloppy with closing doors, but he was turned out to be all right. No, I don't speak French. I'm from St. Louis. But I love Paris. I've been there a few times and played the best shows. Picked up a few lines, not too much, just enough to pick up French women. Mon Dieu, I thought, shaking my head in disbelief.
College roommate situation?
Yes. And a college roommate with daddy issues. You know, who does not? And Miles Davis' dad was a dentist. And he went to Juilliard to please his dad, but he immediately started gigging. And the voice of Miles Davis, as read in his autobiography, his very best-selling autobiography, The Autobiography of Miles Davis by Quincy Troupe, his voice, the language, the music of it in that biography was super influential in me writing this novel. And the voice and the tone of the novel, particularly the New York section.
That's so interesting. What about the language was influential for you?
Because the language was fast, it was slick, and Miles made the sweetest music. His voice on the trumpet is the lightest, most sincere, most earnest voice. However, in real life, his language was gruff, fajo, and aggressive. He was a New Yorker. And the contrast between what he does and and how he speaks in real life always fascinated me, and it was great to be able to write about that.
And this is a book that pulls us in so many different directions. And I'm thinking about all the faith, family, football, and romance that is part of this book as well. As prolific as Gilbert is with his football skills, let's just say he is as prolific in his romantic life. Which can get him into trouble. Early on, he marries a white woman named Elizabeth, which he feels conflicted about. why does he feel he has to marry Elizabeth?
To save the family fortune. To save the family fortune. He comes from some kind of family in Haiti where your dad, your mom can tell you who to marry. The company family business was struggling. This woman came from a family that seemed to have money. They moved to Haiti. His dad told him, "Yeah, take a bullet for us." And also because Haiti has a law, and this is actually true, foreigners can't own property in Haiti. Because after we won independence, we didn't want the Europeans to come back and buy up the whole country. So they have this law. So a European has to marry a Haitian to be able to buy property in Haiti. So
that's a sneaky way of getting in and
yes,
gaining access?
Yes. And then buying up the island. So the Europeans ended up doing it anyway, but that law was there. And in 1950, his family needed him to marry up, seemingly up, to save the family business. And he did that even though his heart tugged for another woman.
For another woman. And he, at his wedding,
yes,
meets a Haitian woman.
Yes, named Aurélie. And that was one of the funnest chapters to ever write because, look, lightning strikes, man. Lightning strikes. Coup de foudre, as we call it in French. They happen. Love is a battlefield, and you don't know when you're in it, but it does happen. And that was one of the funnest chapters to write, was when at his wedding day, on the wedding stands, he looked down. At the altar, he looks down and he meets another woman and he falls for her, head over heels. And
that's some great timing right there.
The worst kind of timing. And it was delicious. Getting Gilles in trouble was super fun to write about. Because on the one hand, the book is about this man, this young man with all these privileges, but it's about his comeuppance. It's a deconstruction of the limits of being macho, the limits of following your id and your sense of entitlement.
Well, a lot of the book takes place in Haiti and also in New York. Since we're in New York, let me ask about that section. He's spending time in Harlem in the 1950s. Was there something about New York from that time period that you really wanted to try to capture in this book?
Yes, because it's funny because a lot of things that are cool about New York today were also cool back then. Central Park was always awesome. Immigrants always played soccer on Sheep's Meadow. And writing that and writing about the contrast between immigrant life and New Yorker life and the way the two communities mingle and don't. And writing from the perspective of an immigrant who's integrating the cool jazz scene uptown was also exciting to write about because that's always hard. Whether you're trying to get into the hip-hop scene or the Broadway scene or the jazz scene, today is as delicate a social pas de deux today as it was back then, and it was great to write about that because music still is centered to New York's life. Sports is still centered to New York's life. And if you're an immigrant, finding your space in New York takes time.
Well, Dimitri alias Leger, we've been talking about your book, Death of the Soccer God, and you were kind enough to participate and make some picks for All of It's Summer Reading Challenge. Listeners, a reminder that this summer we're challenging you to complete our third annual Summer Reading Challenge. You have to read 6 books, 6 different categories by Labor Day. You can sign up at wnyc.org/Summer Reading Challenge. Can we quickly go through your picks?
Yes. I love this challenge because 6 books is a reasonable number of books to read for summertime. For 2026, I recommend people read Day by Edwidge Danticat.
That's D-E-Y?
D-E-Y is coming out in August. So just in time for the late summer boredom spell.
Just making it in under the wire in the challenge there.
It's always a good idea to read Edwidge Danticat. And for romance, for the genre category, I recommend Tia Williams' just published Misconnections. Tia Williams is one of the premier romance writers in the country. And when you read her books, were designed to make you fall in love and be frustrated. And they are wonderful. And she just published her latest book. So you must read that as a romance novel of the summer.
Okay.
Eddie Claude, he wrote a great book about America, how America celebrates its anniversaries. It's perfect for the 250th anniversary of New York of America. And he talks about how race undermines and also enhances American history and Americans' anniversaries in particular. So that book covers that part. And for classics, I had just bought this last week is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I need something short and soulful. The opposite of my writing style. I write big and soulful, but he writes minimalist and soulful. And The Old Man and the Sea is who we all are internally, I suppose, plugging away, hoping to catch that big fish. And I recommend that classic for this summer.
Okay, so talking about also trying to catch some big fish, let's finish talking about the World Cup. Haiti playing in its first World Cup since 1974. Do I have that right?
Yes.
They played warm-up games in Florida. They're going to be playing Scotland tomorrow night. What are your thoughts? Do you have any advice?
Everyone should root for Haiti. Everyone should root for the most unlikely success story ever. And the countries from the developing world who make it to the World Cup, to be one of the 48 best countries in the world is an amazing feat. Haiti's team could not even play its qualifying home games at home. They couldn't physically be in Haiti because the country is too dangerous. The president is dead. There's no government. There's no army. Gangs control the country. It's under Taliban rule. So they had to play their home games in Curacao, and yet they qualified for the World Cups. If you watch Haiti play, you're watching 15 extraordinary young men represent a country they've never visited in recent years to try to score and bring honor to that country anyway.
Okay, there we go. Dimitri Elias-Leger, thank you so much for joining us once again. The new book is Death of the Soccer God. Thanks again.
Thank you.